This week on Intrigued, full effect.
I love them and I want them to know that we ain't never stopped looking for them. I don't care how many years went by. I don't care if somebody told them that, oh, your family don't care nothing about you. They don't love you, whatever. We always loved them. We always looked for them. We just didn't have no help.
I'm Chandrea Thomas, and welcome to episode 28. In this podcast, I talk about curious cases, disappearances, and other stuff. And today I'm talking about the disappearance of 15-year-old twins, Jeannette and Dannette Millbrook, from Augusta, Georgia. Now, this happened on Sunday, March 18th of 1990. So this case is more than 30 years old. The twins' mom sent them to pick up some food and some money from their godfather for bus fare for school the next day, but the ninth graders were never seen again. I spoke to the twins' younger sister about the impact on the family and the investigation over the years. I asked about the Aiken County Jane Doe case that was thought to be one of the twins and where the DNA test on that stands right now. I also reached out to the Richmond County Sheriff's Department for an update on the case. This is what happened. So what I want to do is kind of take the story back to the beginning because, for those who may not have seen the story of your sisters or know what actually happened, let's just go back to that day, years ago, 30 years ago, plus years ago. What happened that day?
Earlier that morning, we had went to church. After we left church, we came home. I say probably around 12:30 maybe. Church kind of let out a little early back then. After we left church, before we left church, the pastor gave my mom some money to get us some lunch for that day because my mom didn't have enough money to feed us for that day. So he gave us some money. When we got home, the church van dropped us off. My mom sent the girls to Church's Chicken to get us some lunch for that day. On their way back from Church's Chicken, my sister Jeanette had told my mom that it was a guy in a white van following them. You know, they didn't seem like they was scared or nothing like that. So we really didn't think too much else of it. So we went on about our day. We ate lunch, and in the midst of us eating lunch, they was talking about going to school that next day because it happened on a Sunday. The school they would have been attending would have been T.W. Joseph High School, but by us staying on 12th Street at the time before we moved, they was attending Lucy Lane High School. And instead of them wanting to switch schools, they wanted to stay at the school they was already attending. So my mom didn't have bus fare for them. They would have had to catch the city bus to school because it wasn't a school bus that came in the area where we was living at to pick them up, to take them to Lane High School. My mom asked them to call my goddad to give them some money for bus fare for that week. They called him on the phone. He told them he would give them the money. So I say probably around about 2:30-ish, somewhere up in there, they went to my goddad's house. My goddad's house is like maybe 2 miles, if that, from where we was living at. They made it to his house. After they left his house is where things took a turn for the worse because for some reason, they was going to family members' house to ask them to walk home with them. Mm-hmm. One of them was my cousin. Her name was Juanita Bryan. She usually be at our house like every single day, even though she was younger than them. She was like maybe 9, 10 years old back then. Her mom always let her came to our house. So they stopped by there to ask her to come walk with them home. And for some reason, her mom wouldn't let her go that day. So they proceeded from her house to my sister's house. When they got to her house, by her hadn't been too long, gave birth to my nephew, she wasn't able to go with them to walk home with them either. So, I guess nightfall it started getting dark. It was getting dark early around back then. I say probably like maybe 6 o'clock or so. The girls hadn't made it home. In the midst between the time that my mom called my goddad to ask that the girls made it to his house, she started calling around to other people's houses that she knew the girls knew. She started calling around asking people had they seen the girls. Mm-hmm. And my goddad was like, they made it there. She called my older sister. My older sister was like, yeah, they came by here, Mom. I seen them. And the reason why we stopped by the pump and shop store at the time is because my sister was like, when they left here, Mama, they went walking towards the pump and shop. So by us already hadn't stayed in that area like 2 minutes from the store. It wasn't even 2 minutes, probably like a few feet from the store. We stopped by the store on our way going down looking for the girls because, you know, they still hadn't made it home. The lady that worked in the store, her name was Gloria. She told my mom, yeah, I seen the girls, they came in here, you know, they brought candy, chips, soda, you know, something to drink or whatever. And she said she looked up after, you know, they spoke to her or whatever. She looked up and they was gone. She don't know if they got in the car with somebody or if they went, what way they went walking, because she had other customers. She said it was just that fast that they was gone out of her eyesight, you know, and she didn't see them no more. And that was the last person that saw them.
Wow. So let me ask you this. On this particular day, so what's interesting is that they're asking multiple people to walk with them. Is that unusual for them to ask multiple people to walk with them? I mean, they are twins together, so they're not alone, so to speak. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Did you find that to be unusual for them?
We did, and we still don't know what was the purpose. So by us not being able to speak with them, my interpretation, something had to transpire between the time that they left my goddad house and trying to get home.
So essentially, you guys lived within like 1 or 2 minutes of the store. What's it called? A pump and stop? Is that what you guys call it?
It was pump and shop at the time. Okay, but we at the time the girls disappeared, we were staying in Jenna's home. We stayed probably, it wasn't even a few feet from the store where they was last seen at.
Now, what about other witnesses, other customers? Were you guys ever able to find any other witnesses to anything?
No one there, nobody. But the only reason why I think that, because the police never went to go look for them that day. My mom called the police, but they told my mom she had to wait 24 hours before she could report them missing. She tried to call that night, but it was like, you know, if they don't come back home within 24 hours, call us back. So that's what she did. She called them back. The next day, they still hadn't came home, so they sent the police officer out there. The police officer came and got their information, what they had on, but he got their birthdays wrong. He got the spelling of their names wrong. They never went to the gas station to talk to anybody. They never went to talk to my god sister. The only person that they did talk to was my goddad. That's how we know they did make it to his house. He had already told my mom prior to the police going to his house to check, you know, to check his house out or to ask him questions about the girls. He already told my mom that they did come there. He told her how much money he gave them, which he gave them $20. And he gave them $2 a piece to get them something, you know, like snacks or whatever, because he always do that for us. Anytime he see us, he'll give us like 50 cents or $1 or something, or he'll just buy us something, you know. That's just something he always did. So it wasn't nothing unusual about him that we would think, oh yeah, he probably did something to them or whatever the case may be. So we know they made it to his house, and we know they left his house that day.
They made it to other locations after his house.
Right. But the thing about it, nobody never talked to none of these people who said that they seen them after they left my goddad house. They never talked to nobody else. The only person that they talked to was kids at the school. That was the next week after when the investigator finally came to my mom's house, because mind you now, the next day is when they took the report, because they went missing on the 18th. So I say the 19th is when they did the report. That next week after that is when they sent an investigator out. They didn't send an investigator out right then and there that same week. They only sent the police officer out there, and he got most of the information wrong. He did get correct what they was wearing that day, but the spelling of their names, the street where my goddad stayed on, they got that wrong. They never went to go talk to my older sister. They never went to go talk to my cousin Juanita. They never went to go talk to the lady named Miss Agnes Jones. deceased now. They never went to go talk to her.
Who is Miss Jones?
Miss Jones is she's pretty much like a cousin of ours. My grandmother and her went to school together. They was real close friends, pretty much like family. Mm-hmm. And they had walked past her house. She saw them that day also. So they never talked to her. They never talked to my older sister. They never talked to Juanita. And they never talked to Miss Gloria. Miss Gloria is the attendant that worked at the store that day. Miss Gloria know us, like, she saw us pretty much every day when we stayed by the store. So she knew my mom. She knew what the girls looked like. She pretty much knew the whole, our whole family that stayed down here.
Wow. So the people at the school who essentially had nothing to do with them after they were home anyway. I mean, and it was Sunday. From the beginning, it sounds like it was a hot mess from the start as far as how things were handled. Let's just be honest about that. What came of the police investigation? You saying they got information wrong. They never really thoroughly checked things out. Did they assume your sisters were runaways?
Right off the rip, the investigator said they ran away from home.
And that's not their characteristic, right? From what I understand.
No. He didn't even care nothing about the characteristic. To be honest, he didn't care about nothing. He even actually accused my mama of lying, saying the girls was missing.
Was that pretty much the usual, I guess, treatment of missing Black folks or Black folks in your community? Like, so what was the relationship with the police department? Now, this wasn't the local police department. What police department was this exactly? Who came out there?
It was the police department, but they merged together some kind of way, and they became the sheriff's department now. They failed to go look for my sister and them, and my sister and them case was closed out for 23 years before anybody went to go look for them again. They closed my sister and them case out in 1991.
So this is unsolved. Your sisters have not been found, and the police department closed the case. So how can you close a case that hasn't been investigated?
He closed the case based off of hearsay. He said that some of their classmates said that they seen them. He said that the principal of the school said he saw them standing on the corner by the school. He called their names and they took off running from the principal of the school. He said also that some of the kids at the school said they saw them and they told them the reason why they ran away from home and they weren't going back home because one of the girls was pregnant. Never was found out to be true because, for one, my sister and them didn't have boyfriends, neither one of them. Two, he's saying this is what these people saying. We never knew if those people said this or not because his first interpretation of them, he said they ran away from home. Oh, they'll be back. They just ran away from home. Then he started saying they was unruly runaways, meaning they was troublemakers. They used to cause trouble. Or they done got in trouble with the law before. But if you look up their records, if they ever find them, because they claim that they don't have anything on them. They never ran away from home before. They never got in any trouble with the police before. So how can you say they was unruly runaways? What it was is he based it off of where we live and the color of their skin. That's what I believe in my heart. I really do, because you never did your job. And the reason I say this, my family is not the only one that feel this way, because this same investigator was over another little girl case.
A missing Black child?
Another missing Black girl. Her name was Tiffany Nelson. She was 9 years old. She went missing from a gas station. Also, he never fully did his job with her investigation either, because when she went missing, I guess you want to say he didn't put it as a missing child at first. He did it as a runaway also. He said she ran away from home. He didn't do a full investigation until this girl had been missing for 11 days is when he ruled it as, I guess, an abduction then. 11 days hadn't passed by before he even said that, that she was abducted. Push forward, I think 2005 is when they found her body out here on Highway 56 in a shallow grave. I think she would have been about 20 years old by that time when they found her body. But he was over her case also, and her family feel the same way. I had been in contact with her family, and he just didn't. Any person of Caucasian, they put their pictures on the news. Now, they did put Tiffany's picture on the news, but my sister Jeannette and Dannette, they never put them on the news but once. They never put them in the newspaper or anything. They never put them on the news but one time, and it was Channel 6 News at the time, but I think it's called something else now. Other than that, that was it. From the time they went missing, which was March 18th, okay, push forward, their birthday was the 2nd of April. So they went missing 2 weeks before their birthday. After that year had done went by, this man never really came to my mom's house to talk to her, to stay in contact with her, to find out, had the girls came home or whatever. They never talked to us. We was always had to call down there to speak to them. So 1991, when he came to my mom's house, she thinking that he was coming there to tell her, oh, we found them. He came there to tell her that they was no longer going to be looking for them, that they was closing the case out because he said that they had been found. But then 1993, he tells her that they was taking my sister and them out of the database completely. He took it amongst himself to call the National Missing and Explored Children to tell them that my sister and them had been found. So they took my sister and them out of the database. So from 1991, you already done closed the case out. He closed the case out April the 8th of 1991, 6 days after they turned 17. After he closed the case out from from April the 8th of 1991 all the way up until 1993, they still was in the database. But before he moved from the department that he was in as an investigator, he had to get all his cases closed out, and my sister then was one of them. He took them out of the system completely, so they wasn't in the system for, like, if some DNA had came about, or they never took DNA at all now. But anything had perspired between the time that they took them out of the database all the way up until 2013, when they finally got DNA from my family. We wouldn't know nothing because they wasn't even in the system.
According to Shantae, the case was botched from the start. They were told to wait 24 hours, which is a critical time for any disappearance, before making a missing persons report. Then, a year after the disappearance in 1991, the case was closed with no signs of the girls ever being found. Shantae also says at some point the case file on the twins was also missing, and we'll get to that part later on.
Wow. Okay. This is insane. I just can't believe this is how it went down like this. So this investigator now. So where is this investigator now?
He's still living. They did documentary on my sister now, and basically he's still going by what he did back then 30 years ago, saying they was unruly runaways. Oh, them runaways. That's what he said. If you listen to the documentary, that's what he said. And then they asked him questions like, did he come out and talk to my mom or whatever? And mind you, we already know that he didn't, but he said he did. And they was like, well, Miss Louise saying that you never came out and talked to her but twice. I say, if that, twice, maybe 3 times. But in those times, it wasn't nothing, never good. And he said that he came every year, before, every other month or every other 2 weeks, or he stayed in contact with my mom to let my mom know what they was doing or whatever with the case or whatever. But he didn't. He said my mom IQ level was so low that she couldn't remember him talking to her.
Wow. Aside from every other family member who was there at the time, that's insane. Okay. Mm-hmm. So essentially, it feels to me, now you tell me, do you feel like the value of the Black lives was just not there, and it was just like tossed to the side? I mean, that's what
I do.
And how does that make you feel? How do you feel about it?
I really do. You know what I'm saying? Because the sheriff, I believe in what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? So this is my thing, and this is what I'm going to keep standing on it. The sheriff was white at the time, and the investigator was white at the time. You had all opportunity to get this man to do his job and look for these two girls. I don't care if they was 15 years old, if they was runaways or whatever the case may be. This is your job. You got in that position to do a job, and that's what you should have did, and that's what you should have had. The person that was in your leadership, he should have had this man do his job, but he didn't. So basically, you let this man close this case out on these girls. But them other cases, they went looking for them. I know a classmate of mine, he went missing. They looked for him until they found him, posted his picture all on the news and everything.
What did he look like? And
he was a white guy. His name was Bubba. He was real good classmate, you know. We was real close. I was real close with him, you know what I'm saying? When they finally found him, they found him in the Savannah River. He had drowned, but I guess that he had been out there and nobody really knew where he was at or whatever. But they found him. They went looking until they found him. I know that. And then I thought, you know, I said, well, maybe it's just me. You know what I'm saying? So my mom kept calling down there. She kept calling, trying to get them to help her. She was like, well, if y'all saying my girls had been found, well, where were they found? He told her first you said they was found, but then you turned her when they turned 17, if they had been found, you still can make them come home. What sense does that make? You know, my mom got tired. She just got tired of them telling her over and over again, but nothing they can do to help her, nothing they can do to help.
The family says they were told by police in 1991 that the girls were 17 and could not be forced to come back home because of their age, and that the original investigator closed the case and the twins were removed from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website. But again, the girls were never located and haven't been seen since Sunday, March 18th, 1990. The case was reopened in 2013 after the family continued to press investigators for information in the case. The family was able to submit DNA from the twins' mother and a sibling for the NamUs system in 2013. They also got a sample from Shantae in 2017. And on top of that, Shantae claims the detective on the case allegedly gave the case file for the twins to a juvenile probation officer who was supposed to know where the twins were, and that the twins told that probation officer that they were headed to Texas.
We ain't from Texas. Now, mind you, wasn't no social media going on back then neither. No social media. It was barely computers back then. It wasn't no webcam and all that stuff there. So who would they have got in contact with at 15 years old that say they want to go to Texas? What sense does that make?
With $20 in bus fare?
Yeah, $20 in bus fare. Where were they going? How were they going to take care of themselves? None of that made sense at all. So push forward, 2013 come. After all the phone calls, between there, they hadn't told me they took my mom kids from her. I said, no, them girls were never taken away from my mom. My mom kids ain't never been taken away from her. What sense did that make? Also, to take two girls out of the home when my mom had several other kids. Get what I'm saying? So why would they take two and leave the others in harm's way if y'all felt that my mom was being neglectful towards her kids or whatever, you know, abusive or whatever y'all saying that they was taken out of the home for? Why would they just take two and not the other?
Did you guys ever do your own, I guess, type of investigation? Did you ever go talk to the people who gave this information? Like, what did you guys do as a family to try to answer your own questions?
We did. We used to talk to people, you know, back then. I know I was young. I was 12 years old when my sister went missing. So I know a lot of people, you know. So the girls that used to be friends with them, I used to see them still, some of them still to this day. I still see them. So somebody would have seen them. You get what I'm saying? Somebody would have seen them or whatever. You know, we got other family members that, even the ones that still stay in Thompson, Georgia, some of them be down here. Somewhere, shape, or form, somebody would have seen me that knew us. We walked from 1813 Coonan Circus where we live, all the way down to that gas station. That night that they went missing, we looked in ditches, houses that was, abandoned at the time. We walked all the way down. We even went to my older sister's house. We went to that gas station. That's how we knew, that they came to that gas station. We did everything we thought we could, and we thought we could get help from the police, but we didn't. Still to this day, 30 years later, I still feel we ain't getting help now. They say they doing what they doing, and I know they have a lot of stuff going on. I know it's a lot of murders. I know it's a lot of stuff that be robberies and stuff like that. But my sister and them been missing before all this stuff happened. Mm-hmm. Nobody tried to do nothing. So I thought, we finna get a new sheriff, black sheriff. I thought, hey, okay. He said that he want to help the community. So I said, after all these calls I had been making, all the calls my mom had done made, hey, this man said he want to help the community, let me call back down there. I called down there. They said they was going to open the case back up finally. From 1991 all the way to 2013, they opened the case back up. Still to this day, it's the same thing. Nobody's doing nothing.
Even going through and like re-interviewing people, retracing the steps. What about?
They started an investigator. Okay, when they opened it back up in 2013, he started an investigator, was over the case probably like maybe 2 months, if that. She started finding out information, stuff that we didn't know, because mind you, they said my sister and them case file had been lost. But then you turn around and say you gave the case file to the probation officer. So there's all this wishy-washy stuff that we just didn't understand and still don't. We don't know why what happened. We don't, but we still don't know why this investigation went the way it did, which was no investigation. It was none.
When I saw the documentary on Oxygen, they were talking about this guy in jail who had this information and all that other stuff. Where does any of that fall into the timeline that you gave me as far as them, them leaving, going to the godfather's house, the sister's house, the cousin's house, the store? Where does this interaction fall in all that? Especially they said something about like involving their father and some other stuff. So what was that?
Okay, so this is how that happens. From 2013 all the way up to 2017, nobody still wasn't doing anything. So I always post stuff on Facebook about my sister and them. Sometimes I slack off just a little bit, but I always post stuff about them on Facebook. I got their own page. And these ladies from Atlanta, their name is Brooke and Laura. They started the Fall Line podcast based off of my sister and them story that Laura heard from her students. So she looked me up. I started talking to them, getting them information or whatever. And I told them about their dad, which their dad never wanted to help look for them. No way. He really didn't want them to be found. Why? We don't know. Laura and Brooke started finding out so much information. They found out about a serial killer that was here when they went missing. He was picking up women in the same area where my sister and them went missing from. He would pick the women up, shoot them, rape them, and they would find some of the latest bodies over there where it's called the Brickyard, Lovers Lane, and Columbia Nitrogen Road. His name was Joseph Patrick Washington. Okay. Push forward, my sister and them daddy stayed by Joseph Patrick Washington. My sister and them daddy also went to prison for helping these gentlemen hide a body. These gentlemen that killed somebody, my sister and them dad helped them hide the body. Okay. The gentleman that's in prison, which his name is Ernest Vaughn, he said that Brooke and Laura and them asked me questions, and they want about the dad. So when they looked him up, they seen Ernest Vaughn, Reginald Cummings, and 2 more guys that my sister and them dad was involved with. So they sent out letters to these guys to see if these guys would respond back to them, to see if these guys know any information about my sister and them. So 2 of the guys wrote back, which was Reginald Cummings and Ernest Vaughn. when they wrote back, they was like they had information, but they weren't gonna tell it unless they helped them with their parole. Okay, so they was like, let me get this information to the police. So in 2017, Richmond County already knew about the letters that Ernest Vaughn had wrote back to Brooke and Laura. They gave them the information. They never acted on the information until the documentary came about. So Ernest Vaughn is saying that back in 1990, the same day my sister and them went missing, their dad stayed on 3rd Street. Okay, he's saying that my sister and them dad, well, a friend of his or whatever, saw my sister and them at the gas station, picked them up, took them down to my sister and them dad's house. They was having some kind of party or something going on down there. He said he was 12 years old at the time. So when he went in full detail about everything, he said, I was 12 years old at the time that this happened. He said, snitches get stitches if you tell anything. He said the girls was over there. He said they was having some kind of party, some drinking and some smoking some weed had got involved, or, into play. One of the guys wanted to have sex with one of my sisters, but they didn't want to have sex with him. He hit my sister, and one of my sisters fell and hit her head and started bleeding real bad. And he made all the people that was at the party leave out except for a couple of them. And he said the reason why he feel that both girls are dead and not just one, because after the party, he ain't see now one of them no more.
Do you believe the story? Do you believe that?
The only part about it is the weed part, I really don't believe, because my sister and them didn't smoke weed. They one of them type of girls, you know what I'm saying? I know kids do things, you know what I'm saying? And people can't say what people won't do. But I know my sister and them, I've been around these girls. I wasn't no little bit of girls, so I knew them. I slept in the same bed with them. They didn't have boyfriends. They really didn't even hang out. My sister Jeanette, she was like an animal lover. She had a cat named Jennifer. She loved that cat. You know what I'm saying? My sister Dannette was the protector. My sister Jeanette, she was like the shy type girl. You know what I'm saying? She really didn't do too much or nothing. They liked it being home. You know what I'm saying? And anytime my mom went anywhere or did anything, I would have knew if they was doing some kind of drugs or something like that. Now that part, if it did happen, it had to be forced on them. So I ain't gonna say that what he said it didn't really happen. But I know if it did, it had to be forced on them, because they didn't do that type of stuff. They rarely even hung out with people. And the friends that they did have, most of the time, they was at our house.
They supposedly, allegedly, made this detour to their father's house, okay?
Right.
So when it comes down to the dad, and you guys asking the dad, like, did they really come over here? Like, what's the deal with this? What information did you just barely find this out in 2017? Basically,
we just found that part right there out, that they supposed to went to his house that day. But between the time from 1990 all the way up until then, we thinking why he don't want them to be looked for. You get what I'm saying? He always told my mama, stop going out there looking for those girls. Leave them girls out there. Them girls probably out there with some man or what have you. He never really wanted nobody to look for him. When they opened the case back up, my older sister, said that when they tried to go talk to him, because they was trying to get DNA from my mom, my older sister, and the twins' dad. They wasn't able to get the DNA from the dad because he refused to talk to them. And my older sister, always talked to him. So they asked her, where he lived or what have you. He didn't want to talk to them. He told my sister, even told my older sister, if they came back to her door or whatever, to tell her not to open the door for them, to change her phone number, and if they asked her anything else about him, to tell them that he was dead.
So that's the most bizarre thing coming from a parent, right? So you guys, exactly. At that point, I mean, you can only figure he knows something that he shouldn't, you know what I mean?
Right. And then the crazy part here come where we was trying to figure out how he had connection with all these people. This lady, one of the guys that's in prison, is supposed to be my sister and dad's caretaker. We was trying to find out what connection he had with this lady all this time, all these years that done went by, and now we know one of the guys that's in prison is one of the guys that he helped hide body, and that's how he know this lady. Her son name is Reginald Cummings, so my sister and them dad helped her son and the Ernest Vaughn guy hide the body of another gentleman who they had murdered. But they murdered, it was two guys that they had murdered, but my sister and them dad helped them hide one of the gentleman's body.
Did your sister's father ever go to jail for that? Was he ever convicted and tried?
He did. He went to jail.
According to Oxygen.com, Ernest Vaughns suggested that John Millbrook, the twins' father, has information about what happened to the twins. While some of the information from Vaughns was found, investigators couldn't say that all the information was credible or confirm if the father of the twins had any involvement in the disappearance. This is what Shantae says happened when the family went to see the twins' father a while back.
All of us was in the room with him. We started the conversation off asking him about had he seen the girls. That my sister and them cousin on their dad's side, her name is Charlotte. She started talking to him about like the animals and stuff he used to kill in their backyard and stuff like that. And then Brooke, which was one of the Fall Line podcast ladies, she just jumped in and started questioning him about the girls. So she asked him plain and simple, did he know where they at? He said they was dead. Then she was like, well, John, she started asking him, was he hungry or whatever, trying to get him comfortable enough to talk, to keep talking. And then she was like, well, if you're saying they're dead, well, where would their bodies be? Where are they buried at? Where, what area could we look in? Do we need to look in the city? Is there bodies in the country? I mean, what area would you think? Then he was like, well, I don't know. And then she kept questioning him, asking question after question about the girls. He wouldn't really talk about the girls, but if you ask him something, what kind of food he want or something like that there, he'll talk just like I'm talking to you now. But anytime you ask him anything about those girls, well, I don't know. I don't know. Ask their mama. Their mama know where they at. Say my mama know where the girls was at. And she was like, I don't know where them girls at, John. And he was like, she was like, well, you said they was dead, John. Who was involved? Did you do it? Who did it? And he just like, I don't no, they're not dead. I don't know where them girls at. I haven't seen those girls.
And you would think, I mean, that not only just him, but other people know some information. No one, if someone did something to them and got rid of their bodies, I mean, somebody had to help. You know what I mean? Like there had to be some. I mean, aside from this guy saying he was 12 and he saw these things, some certain things occur. I'm just wondering, not just him. He could be senile. There's no telling how much truth and fact or fiction is in what he's saying. But I mean, for him to come out of the mouth and say that, okay, he's putting that information out there. But I'm like, okay, who else has the information? Like. So out of the guys who were in the crew, right, who were in this group of men who were supposedly at this house at the time.
It was 5 involved. The 5th is my sister and them dad. The other 4 guys, 2 of them, I don't really know who they are.
The whole idea of searching, right? How many searches have you guys had? Have you guys had any widespread searches? Because it's, okay, no widespread searches. So are there any areas that you guys think something may have happened, maybe where other people have been found, or anything like that? Because like you were saying, if there was some involvement of these people who had, killed someone else, then you would think maybe there's an area where they dump bodies and things like that. So
yeah, the areas where they was dumping these the people bodies down here back in that area was the same area where the gentleman I was telling you about, Joseph Patrick Washington, was hiding his bodies. So it's the same area that the gentleman in prison is saying that my sister and them bodies are supposed to be at. He also said their bodies could be buried out there in Burke County because this was some of these guys live. The guy who's he's saying in the documentary is supposed to be hit the body with is a guy by the name of Little Cheese and Big Cheese. They're the ones that's supposed to be pulled the murder off. They're supposed to be the ones that killed my sisters. And we found out later on that their family has land in Burke County, in the area of Burke County, because that's where they was from.
Have you guys ever considered maybe hiring a private investigator or something like on your own to try to resolve this?
I mean, we wanted to, but we don't have money for that, you know what I'm saying? So
as far as just being able to search certain areas, you know, you guys have there's never been any.
I mean, we was going to try I had a event planned for me to basically like get up people that wanted to go out here, and we was going to do our own search. Since Richmond County don't want to do it because they said the landfill, the place is too big for them to search. The brickyard is too big for them to search. They had to have a certain area to go look for it if they wanted to find them. You know, if they wanted to look for their bodies, they had to have a certain area to go find them. It is big because it's two sides to it. So if you would want to go look for it, it would take a whole lot of people to do it. But hey, they go look for other people. Why not? You know what I'm saying? You ain't want to help us announce the reward that's out for my sister now. So why not help us, you know, do that? But nobody, they said they're not going to do it. So we was going to do it on our own. I was going to plan an event for that, but you know, the coronavirus had came out or whatever. So I wasn't able to do it. We wanted to do it ourselves, but that's how it turned out. So
you guys had the whole documentary. Did anything ever come of that after it aired? Did you guys get any indication of anything new?
Not really, no. You know, some people, basically, you know, other people input, they feel that it's some kind of conspiracy or something going on with the sheriff's department because this is just weird for them not to even want to do nothing, for them not to do nothing back then, and they're still not doing nothing now.
So tell me about your sisters. Tell me about their personalities, because that's the one thing I haven't been able to capture anywhere in any of my research.
They pretty much was good girls. They weren't troublemakers. They was nice girls, you know. You know, we had our little sister fights or whatever the case may be, like siblings, normal siblings, you know what I'm saying? Anytime we go anywhere, it was always us together as a family, my mom and the kids or whatever. Boy, they pretty much like to look at TV. Jeanette, she loved animals. She was an animal lover. She loved cats. Her cat name was Jennifer, as I stated earlier. They was quiet girls. They wasn't no girls that like to go hang out or party girls or nothing like that. It was just like normal teenage girls, like to listen to music. We used to do cheers and stuff in the backyard. We used to go pick pecans, you know, stuff like that. That's the type of stuff we used to do. Wake up in the morning, get ready to go to school. We went to school every day. You know, they was in a higher grade than me, but everybody went to school every day and they came home from school every day. If they wanted to run away, they would have been did that. Why pick that day? You know what I'm saying? They weren't them type of girls. They didn't have boyfriends. It was people that liked them, you know, I'm quite sure. But as far as in just boyfriend, no, they didn't have none of that. It was just people that, you know, that stayed around in the area we stayed in, or they went to school with, or something like that. Then she was the type that, you know, if somebody bothering you or something like that, she was the one that be the protector of everything. Jeanette, she the quiet type. As you know the saying, she ain't gonna hurt a fly. That's just her personality. She loved TV. I can tell you from the time she come home from school, she'll come home, put her books down, and this is her right here in front of the TV. I can see her right now to this day. This is her. This is how she look at TV, like this right here. With her hands on her chin, on her knees. She'd be like this right here looking at TV. All people have fights or something with their siblings, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't nothing to the point where, I'm gonna run away from home because of my mom. Because there was another thing people were saying, they ran away because my mom had too many kids. They loved my sisters and brothers. They loved us.
What do you miss the most about your sisters?
Seeing them, talking to them. I wish, I don't even know what our life would be like had they been here, I got kids now. I have 5 children. I got grandkids. I don't know if they got kids. We don't even know if they're alive, But I would like to know. I would like to know what really happened to them. It's just a mystery. I never seen nothing like it.
Yeah, I mean, for them to be gone for that long, it's just, I can't imagine them being away from their family for that long a period of time and not having any type of contact,
Yeah. I hate this happening. I really do. I hate it more for my mom than anything because those are her kids. They my sisters, but those are her children. And for your children to be gone 30 years and you don't know where they at, no nothing. I'm talking about nothing. No letter, no phone call. My mom never changed her phone number. She never changed her phone number, and she stayed at the same house for a long time. Her phone number has changed now, but for years, I'm talking about years, like 20-something years, her phone number stayed the same. She had a fire at her apartment that we was living in. It was the apartment caught on fire, and they had to move her, and when they moved her in the area she was at, they had to change her phone number. But other than that, it stayed the same. I can remember it to this day, 7338974. And I know they remembered it too. This is the weirdest thing that has happened to our family. And it's like we felt it for a long time that people didn't care. For a long time, we felt that because I feel guilty of it by saying that I felt people that didn't care. But it wasn't that they didn't care. It's that they didn't know. A lot of people didn't know my sister then was missing until this documentary came out.
As far as like other maybe bodies and DNA and things that, may have come across over the years, I saw some things about Aiken County, a person that that was reconstructed to similarly look like your sister, one of your sisters. What happened with that? Did you guys ever get any answers from this particular case?
About 2 months ago, we finally got an answer that we had been asking for since since 1996 is when I first saw that image. So from 96 all the way up until about 2-3 months ago, after the documentary had aired, is when they finally told us they had the DNA came back. The coroner of Aiken was already working on it after we saw him, but he wound up dying. So we never got the information that we needed, but they claiming that we didn't see no paperwork or nothing like that, but they're saying that what they had found out is that the person that we thought was one of the twins wasn't one of them. They based it off the DNA. First, they was trying to say it wasn't one of them because of the age of the bones, meaning the person had died way before my sister and them even went missing. I was told that right there doesn't really matter, the age of the bones, that they should have still did the DNA. So finally, they claimed they got the DNA and they did it, and they found out it wasn't there one of them. But it was other women. It wasn't just that person that was over there in Aiken. It was 5 other women that they still haven't identified to this day that we know of.
That have similar features to your sisters? Or that
at least one other one of them had similarities too.
Now, how far is that from where you guys are? Do you have any idea?
Just right across the river. It's right across. You don't do nothing but cross over from one bridge to the other side of the bridge, and there's Carolina.
If there were to be a search, right? If there were to be people to come out and do a search for you guys, are there 3 or 2 areas that they can focus on that they would maybe have a chance to look at? Because there are organizations who come out and they search for people. If they, they give a good radius and they try to search. Like you said, if the county won't do it, then, maybe some other folks will come in and at least give you guys a chance to really do a thorough search of certain areas.
Exactly. And the first area I would suggest would be the Brickyard, based off of just what that man said. because he said everything that he said is true, but Richmond County told him to say that it wasn't true. Yeah, he said the investigators told him when they came out there to the prison to see him to tell everybody that it wasn't true. Because they're saying that they believe him, but it wasn't my sister and them that it happened to. It was some other girls. What other girls? There's no other girls that's missing in Augusta, Georgia that we know of. So what other girls are they referring to if they're not talking about the twins?
If there are two other girls who are allegedly missing, who are they? Who are their family members? Do you not see pictures of these people? You would think their stories would be out as well as an unsolved case or something like that. So that doesn't make sense to me at all.
At all, yeah. It's just something weird about this sheriff's department down here. I done heard other stories about other missing people in other towns and other cities. This sheriff's department down here, they don't do the stuff that these other people do. I'm trying to figure out why when he even announced the reward, even though they didn't want to match the reward, because it's a $10,000 reward out for my sister and the information that somebody can come up with, to resolve this case. They wouldn't even match it. The money came from people that listened to the other podcast that I was on, the Fall Line podcast. The money came from the listeners because they want to know what happened to my sister and them also. They want to help us. That's how I know it's other people that's out here that really do care about people. This sheriff's department down here don't act like they care, and they the ones said that they wanted to right the wrong. They know our family had been done wrong. They know this, but they're doing nothing to correct the wrong like they said they was going to do.
Regarding the case right now, are your sisters listed back on the missing persons database, or are they still permanently removed like they were back in what you said, 1991, somewhere in there? So where does it stand right now?
So from 2013 all the way up until now, they're back in the database.
Oh, and by the way, I reached out to the Richmond County Sheriff's Department multiple times for information and a statement on the case, and I never got a response. But to be honest, I didn't expect one. But according to the most recent local media interviews with the sheriff, he says they didn't have any credible solid leads in the case, including any connection to alleged serial killer Joseph Patrick Washington, who targeted young black women at the time of the twins' disappearance. And there's also been no activity on the twins' information, including social security numbers, since they disappeared. And according to Shantae, the family wanted to get DNA testing on the remains of 5 other women who were found within a 1-hour radius of Augusta. But she says investigators told her the age of the bones didn't match, so no testing would be done. But here's my thing. Why not DNA test everything just to make sure it's not them?
If you had a chance to say something to your sisters now, what would you say?
That I love them and I want them to know that we ain't never stopped looking for them. I don't care how many years went by. I don't care if somebody told them that, oh, your family don't care nothing about you. They don't love you or whatever. We always love them. We always look for them. We just didn't have no help. It ain't a day went by that we don't think about them. We still think about them every day. I keep their picture on my computer screen. They my screensaver on my computer.
When it comes to my final thoughts about this case, I do have to wonder if the story in the Oxygen series from The Prisoner about the twins possibly being killed has any truth to it. I mean, there were 2 of them, so how can someone take both girls at once, unless 1, they were held up with a weapon, or someone had help taking them against their will? And how can they really be runaways with no money and really no place to go? Shantae says the twins were homebodies and really didn't hang out and spent most of their time at home. And what about the issues that came up with the father of the twins? Well, according to Shantae, he's an invalid and can't really speak anymore, but she also said that he had no interest in finding them back then. And for some reason, they do believe he has information in the case. And then there's a police investigation. The family has said that there were no searches or real work done on the case. And the situation in 1991, the family says the case was closed and that someone told the Center for Missing and Exploited Children that the girls were found when they never were. So what's that all about? I'm working with my researcher Haley right now to do what we can to find a nonprofit group who can actually do a real search for the family, or to at least check out the areas that the family wanted to thoroughly investigate. It must be painful for the family to not know where the twins are, with 30 years of agony just hanging on them. I mean, that's a lot to deal with while trying to move on and live your life. The twins would be 46 years old this year. I will keep an eye on this case and give you updates when I get them in. If you have a case that you want me to check out, just visit me on the Intrigued Full Effect Facebook page or via email at intriguedfulleffect@hotmail.com. Until next time, be safe and stay true. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the Intrigued Full Effect, Curious Cases, Disappearances, and Other Stuff podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the host. The primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. The host of this podcast assumes no liability or responsibility for any activities in connection with opinions shared in the podcast. The podcast and blog associated with it shall not be used in any legal capacity or as a basis for expert testimony. Any copyright material in the podcast is approved by the owner or as part of the public domain. Music by Pond 5.